palms. And repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Keeping the palms joined. Palms down. All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Nice to see you all here. You know, the interesting thing about this practice is, as I often say, it never what? Actually, I often say it never does a lot of things. Never what? Gets easier and never ends, and I guess there's more than two things I always say. Never gets easier, it never ends, and it's not fun. You don't pay attention, man. It never changes. But everything else y'all said was correct. It's never easy, it's never fun, it definitely never ends, but it never changes. And that's, I think, the beauty of this practice is that it's really, I don't know, a handful of things that just go on repeat. They say the Buddha taught the same thing for 45 years, 84,000 different ways. But in essence, he was teaching the same thing. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, understand why we suffer, work on stopping that, and repeat. It's that simple. The beauty of that is we don't have to overcomplicate things. It really is very simple. It's just a daily, and that's why we call it a practice. So, you know, for those of you here maybe for the first time or sitting with me for the first time, which just means you've never heard me say all this stuff. And for those of you who've been listening to it for 15 years, it just keeps going. And the beauty is we have every day to practice. Every day people will challenge you, irritate you, annoy you, frustrate you. That's what we get. So we come together to sit and practice and just be reminded to pay attention to every single thing we think, every single thing we say, and every single thing we do. And that's all. So, to those who are joining virtually, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for showing up. Feel free to say hello. And yeah, for those who I missed last week, you know, thanks to Jen for filling in and Joe again on Saturday. I think I'm about a week after my post-Pride hangover, which definitely wore me out beyond a level of being worn out that I'd known in a long time. I think the last time I was that worn out, I was 23 and I just come back from Mexico, spring break. So it had been a while. So I definitely, I still feel it. Everything's just, which in a way is probably a good thing. Everything's just slowed down. Body's tired, mind is tired. It was a pretty wild couple months, but definitely a full 8 days. Slowing down for me is always a good thing anyways. Something I never really figured out how to do. Don't let all this sitting fool you, So we're going to sit. For those who are maybe joining for the first time, a couple things to tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice. Don't ask yourself, is this working or not? We're just going to sit and breathe. Posture, you want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, often helps. Slide into the front third, pushing the stomach forward. If you're on a bench or chair, however you're seated, also just trying to sit upright. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. And starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice. Observing sensation of breath. Expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. As the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Breathing in, follow breath in. Breathing out, follow breath out. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from the practice, just sitting, breathing. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, wanting nothing but to sit and breathe. With the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds. And the mind learning to settle. Know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. And no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. Once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. As you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move. Most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how we sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's not from the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. What that means, very simply, for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in or where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. That's what we get. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. So all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, and focused. Distracted by nothing. Disturbed by no one. This practice is not easy. It's not necessarily fun, as you so well pointed out at the beginning tonight. It's not an escape, as often people think it is. If your life is a crazy, hectic, stressed out mess, meditation and Buddhist practice doesn't fix that. You have to actually make changes in your life. This practice creates space for you to become aware of why your life is a crazy, hectic, stressed out mess. So you can then make the changes. Nobody here can fix you, heal you, save you, do anything for you. You're on your own. The beauty of that is you're on your own. You can make the changes necessary so your life doesn't suck so much. Pretty simple. Pretty sure the Buddha said that exactly. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, learning to be kind to yourself and everybody else you encounter every moment of your life. That's all. There is no magic to this. It is day in and day out, becoming aware of what we think, what we say, and what we do, and how that impacts the life of those around us, including ourselves. Once we stop trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything and everyone around us, which is where we spend so much of our time hoping they do this, hoping they do that, wishing they would do this, it's all their fault if they would just do this. It's so easy to blame other people. This is setting that down and looking in the mirror. So, good luck with that. So with that, we'll pause. For me, I really prefer to respond to questions. Meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. And we use the rest of our brief time this evening for questions. And for those who are joining virtually, again, welcome. Feel free to put any questions there and I'll do my best to respond.
Can you talk more about dependent origination? What depends on what?
So the question was, can I talk about dependent origination? What depends on what? Everything depends on everything. Did you go to second grade? You are here right now because you went to second grade. Every choice that you made after second grade put you here. Are you here because of your parents right now?
Well, I suppose if everything depends on everything.
Well, there you go. Good answer.
A quick one.
This stuff always goes easier when you agree with me. Their parents, wherever they came from, the arguments they had, the challenges they had, the difficulties they had. You ever had your heart broken?
Time or two.
A time or two. Ever had things go incredibly well?
Yes.
Ever get a job you wanted?
Mm-hmm.
Ever not get a job you wanted?
Yes.
All of those things put you right here in this very moment. Every single experience, every single moment created this moment. If one of those things are off in a different direction, you're probably not sitting here right now. Your life would have taken a different course. Everything is contingent upon something else for its existence. That is, in essence, dependent origination, pratitya samutpata, the basis of the Buddha's awakening. Understanding that and seeing how that can change your life is what matters. Meaning, you ever been upset with somebody?
Yes.
For longer than 20 years?
Yes.
Yeah. I just picked a round number.
Old, so you can go high.
It had nothing to do with age. You know? Well, how high can I go since you brought it up? Still not pointing out your age. Have you been upset at something or someone for 40 years?
40. Yeah.
That's a long time. Right? And you're not the only one in here who's been upset for 40 years or longer or less, depending upon, ages in the room, which do vary. So, let's just take maybe something more recent, someone you're upset at. Or the 20-year one. Do you know anything about what's really gone on in their lives? Or what led them to do what they did that led you to be pissed off?
Well, I mean, I know my theory of it.
That's not my question. Did I ask you if you know what your theory is? Do you know anything about what goes on in anybody else's life? No. But they did something that caused pain and suffering in your life. And this is for those who are brand new to this or never heard me, I'm not saying that there aren't horrific, terrible things that happen. Trauma, abuse, goes without saying. This is not an excuse for those things. It's helping us understand why people do what they do when all we see is that immediate interaction with us. Dependent origination says we don't know anything about what their day was like, what their year was like, what their childhood was like, how they were beaten and abused, how they were traumatized. We don't know anything about that. We just think, what does it have to do with me? Do you know who Robert Frank is?
No.
He bought that chair you're sitting on right now.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Robert, right? Otherwise, your ass will be on the floor right now. See, all these people. Do you know who Emanuel Swedenborg is?
I do.
You do? Who is he?
Yeah, well, this is Swedenborg Church.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Without him, do you know when he lived? A long time ago, longer than 40. He lived in the 1700s,
Okay.
right? Without him, none of us are sitting here right now. We're all sitting on the dirt, right? So all of these pieces are connected. We're not all one. We're not all the same. Trust me, you don't want what's in my head, right? But we're all connected, meaning we have experiences that interact with each other. But all we think is, I just want to sit down. Nobody thinks about where the chair came from. Nobody thinks about where the building came from. Nobody thinks about what happened to the person who pissed you off 40 years ago. We just think about what it has to do with me because we think life revolves around whom?
Me.
Me, yes. But it can't revolve around you because it revolves around me. You starting to understand dependent origination? It is the law of cause and effect. Everything is contingent upon something else for its existence. You cannot have something come from nothing. This is the heart of Buddhist philosophy. And when you begin to understand that, all the grudges, all the disappointments, all the frustrations, all the anger, all the resentments, everything you're holding on to just crumbles away and you realize you're just human. You've done some good, you've done some bad. Give yourself a break. You've gone through hell in your life, yeah? I mean, you've had some hard times, is what I mean. Sure. Proud of you for being here. Good job. Don't be afraid to tell yourself that once in a while. So, yeah. Next time you're in an argument with somebody, next time you're mad at someone, next time you just won't let it go, think that just quite possibly they too are suffering. They too get sad and angry and lonely and depressed and miserable and afraid and get triggered and bothered. They too have difficulty. And in fact, whatever is pissing you off about whatever they're doing, I hate to break it to you, probably isn't about you at all. It's actually just a projection of their pain and their suffering. And we know this so well because when we're suffering, others get to deal with it. And it's not usually about them. It's usually just a projection of our own pain that we're throwing onto other people. Isn't that nice of us? But what this does is it allows us to understand the pain and suffering of others. This is what compassion is. Other questions? Yeah.
I wonder if you could talk about the concept of dukkha and how we as human beings suffer because of it. We always want more, something different, something better. The next new thing, the next best thing.
Yes. Why is that? Why do we always want what's next?
Or being better, or aspiring to promotions.
I blame our parents. So you're asking about a couple things here, just to paraphrase for those who didn't hear it. Started out with dukkha, asking about why we always want more. So let me back up to dukkha. Dukkha is very often translated as suffering in Buddhist teaching, for those who don't know. And the first Four Noble Truths, very quickly, it's all on Google for free, so you can just check it out there. But life is filled with dukkha, the Buddha said, suffering. I'll come back to this in a minute. Second one he says is the cause. The cause, and this is what we're getting at, is the greed, anger, ignorance, craving, desire, attachments. Third one is the ending of suffering, nirvana, liberation, yay, no more suffering. And the fourth is the path, the Eightfold Path. Having correct views, thoughts, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. Again, Google it. First 3 pages, you're good to go. Dukkha. Your first question is about dukkha. So, the word suffering is a really poor translation of the word dukkha into the English language because suffering in English sounds so heavy, traumatic, which we do have a lot of in our lives, in our past. We also have discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction. Do you like mayonnaise?
Yes.
Damn. Mustard?
Yeah.
Pickles?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Anything you don't like on a sandwich?
Does it look like I don't like it?
Hey, now. Not where I was going with this.
Cilantro, onion.
What do you not like on a sandwich? Or are you cool with everything?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Okay. So I'm going to completely detour my first example. Just make life like a sandwich. This will cause your ending of dukkha. I'll come back to my first example in a minute. But to the real point here, it doesn't matter how well we understand dukkha or not. We want to stop it from existing.
Yes.
We want to stop craving and desiring and being greedy for more and just having all these attachments. Because things aren't okay to us the way they are. But apparently, a sandwich, everything is good. So just treat every experience, every moment, like you just ordered a sandwich. Whatever you get, you're going to eat it. Right? So you're good. And in our sandwich of life, we're not always going to get things the way we like them. But what we get is what we get.
Yeah.
Right? As you've heard me say, Buddhist teachings doesn't fix things. It's not a be-all, end-all solution to all of your problems. It's an opportunity to awaken to life as it is and learning to be okay with it, just like anything on a sandwich. Who doesn't like mayonnaise? Marcia, you don't like mayonnaise? All right, so you go to a deli. You order a sandwich. What do you say? I know, just come on, play it out. Well, what do you tell them? Hold the mayo.
Mustard, please.
No mayo. And The sandwich comes out, it's got mayo on it. You're not allergic to mayo. We know this because I've done this with you like 17 times. Right? It's just mayo. You're not going to eat it. It's going right in the trash. You want another one or you're leaving. You're not going back, whatever it is. You wouldn't have died from the mayo. You could have eaten it and just appreciated the food. But no, we are stuck on greed, craving, desire, wanting things how we want them. So mayonnaise on a sandwich when you don't like mayonnaise is also dukkha. The temperature not being appropriate is dukkha. You not liking the way your hair looks, I don't have to worry about that so much, is dukkha. Your shirt not looking the right way. You know, the people not telling you every single thing you want to hear. All these little things, which are not so heavy, traumatic pain and suffering. Your latte that was made the wrong way. You didn't get enough pumps of whatever, you know? So, all day.
But the tension is, the friction is that as human beings, we want to develop.
Oh, yeah.
We want to go to the next level. We want to be explorers. We want to learn more. I mean, if we hadn't done that, I think civilization wouldn't have gotten as far as it's gotten. Like if we just sat and chilled.
Totally.
You know? So, yeah. So that's where the tension is.
Yeah.
You know, what's enough?
No, you're right, and I appreciate you going there because it brought me back to my question, my response of it's all our parents' fault. And what I mean by that is, right, when we are born, to some extent there are variations to this, right, with abilities and variations. But for the most part, when we're born, first time baby turns over, you're like, whoa, baby turned over. We're not done celebrating. What comes after the baby turning over? Crawling. Is that enough? You're like, yo, my baby can crawl, I'm done. No, then they gotta stand, then I don't have children, so I don't know what order this goes in, but I'm guessing with the ability, standing, walking, running, things like that. And then coming back to second grade. Then we go to kindergarten, we're in first grade. Nobody's like, yo, you're done with first grade, peace out, have fun in college. We gotta go to second grade. Nobody sends you to school and says, just get all D's. Right? Nobody dresses you to go to school and says, you look absolutely terrible in this, go. Everybody is conditioning us to look perfect, to be perfect, to get perfect grades. Everything has to be the best. We're not terrible people for raising people this way. You're not a bad parent because you want your child to be whatever. I'm trying to respond to why is this conditioning there? And it is because of that, in my opinion, from looking at this practice for a very long time. This is called conditioning in Buddhism. You know what else is conditioning? The billions of dollars spent on every advertisement that you have ever seen to tell you what to wear, what to eat, where to go, who to spend time with. Billions of dollars are spent every single day telling us what to like. As is everything that we grew up with is conditioning us to be a certain way. And then we're like, wait a minute. I don't even know what happiness is. I need somebody else to tell me what happiness is. And then I need to push a little button and get a like to let everybody know I know what happiness is. And then those endorphins fire again. I just talked on Saturday about don't be afraid to give yourself like literally a love button every once in a while to show yourself some love. You know, put a post out there that you like it. If you love it, then love it. But your question is why? Why it's there, that's exactly why. And this practice is learning to undo that conditioning. That's why I was talking about The Matrix, Fight Club, Groundhog Day, the 3 best Buddhist movies in the world. I mean it. Matrix, Fight Club, Groundhog Day. We are all stuck. And everybody's telling us what we're supposed to look like and act like and be like. Right? This practice literally is addressing that, on how to unplug from this conditioning that we're all stuck in. That it is possible to have an iPhone that works long enough and actually does maybe conk out and die on its own before getting sucked into the new one. I know most people don't realize that's a possibility, but it is. You know? No matter how many hundreds of dollars they give you. So that's what this practice is there for. To unplug from that conditioning. and come back to my breath, my heart, present moment. I need nothing else other than what is in this moment. That's why we practice meditation. Sitting and breathing, everything beautiful just as it is. Needing nothing. Good luck when you leave and open up your phone and put on the TV. You know, that's going to tell you, boom, you're stuck. You're just sucked right back into it. Stuck again. This is against the stream, as they call it. What else? There's a question here. Oh, was there a question? Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll come back to this. Or let me hear that first, and I'll see which way to go.
You want to do that first?
I want to hear your question first.
I am very curious to know what is Buddhist like the Fight Club and the movies that you said. Can you just kind of give one sentence?
Have you seen them all?
I could have watched the Fight
It's
Club.
not just Brad Pitt and Edward Norton beating the shit out of each other with their shirts off. I mean, it is that.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what I saw.
So now I want you to watch it again. Let me point out one scene in Fight Club, and then I'll come back to the question here online. There's a scene where he's in the airplane, and Brad Pitt pulls out the pocket from the seat pocket in front of him. And it's the directions of what to do in a case of an emergency crash landing. Now, I don't know about you, I've never been in an emergency crash landing, but I'm pretty sure that when it happens, and this is what he's pointing out, everybody who's jumping on the little, ramp thingy going into the middle of the sky or the ocean or wherever they're going, isn't calm and quiet and smiling.
Yeah.
Watch the movie again. Matrix, oh my God, watch the movie again. And Groundhog Day, we're just stuck in the cycle of samsara over and over and over again until we get it right. Yeah, watch all three again. 100%.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So there's a question here. It says, hey, Jeff, can you remind me the challenges you remember having difficulty overcoming when you returned from your couple-year journey learning about Buddhism? It's great because it was only 11 months, but somehow people think it was like 7 years. Yeah, it's like my baseball stats from high school. Yeah, just keep getting better. So very briefly, 2005, 2006, I spent 11 months in a Buddhist monastery. Zen monk life, no money, no keys, no wallet, no phone. You're told, 4:30 in the morning, the board hits, meaning like the wood hits to wake you up. You got 15 minutes to splash water in your face, put your robe on, and get in line, and then your day starts from there. It was the most beautiful, liberating experience of my life. And after 11 months, my master said, how you doing? And I said, great, I don't ever want to leave. And she said, it's time for you to go. It's like, I want to go, I want to stay here. And she said, you need to go back and figure out how to introduce this stuff to the people you know in San Diego. So that was January 06, and well, here we are, 18 years later. So the challenges I faced, early on, it was this very much resistance to wanting to be back here. It was also what I call Buddhist arrogance, which I caution everybody on frequently. All right, Buddhist arrogance, what this means is maybe 3 months ago, you were hanging out doing all the stuff you did 3 months ago. And then you started going to your Buddhist temple. And now you don't want to do that stuff anymore. But 3 months ago, you were doing it with those people over there who you now think you're better than. Right? 3 months and a day ago, you were doing the same thing they were doing, but now you're all Buddhist. This was a challenge I had, right? I first came back, I was like, I don't do that stuff anymore. Well, that's fine, but that doesn't make me better than they are. So I had to learn to really be humble with this practice when I came back, and not judge others, meaning we're all on our own path, at our own journey, at our own space, our own time. And another thing was I was really uncomfortable in a lot of places that I used to go, even just socially. And so that took time to get used to. I didn't hear a swear word, 4-letter word, cuss word, whatever you want to call it, for 11 months. I grew up spitting and chewing on a baseball field and cussing every other word out of my mouth. I didn't hear that for 11 months. When I came back, it sounded so ugly. Now, as I've already used a word like that probably 5 times tonight, obviously that one wore off. But it was interesting to me how ugly those words sounded when I started to use them again. I also realized that I didn't spit on the ground or anywhere for that matter for 11 months. And like I said, for a kid who grew up on the baseball field and just spit on the ground everywhere, I never even thought twice about it. And that's one thing to this day I've still just never done. It was also really challenging to understand that I went from living a life where everybody was devoted to a very deep spiritual practice, and coming back here was not that way. I landed at LAX and I literally didn't want to get off the plane. Like, I felt this like vortex weird, and I'm not some like touchy-feely guy, but I felt this like thing pulling me in, and I was like, I don't want to go, you know. So all it really was an opportunity for me to reflect on my practice, where I needed to go and be more genuine and authentic with my own personal practice, humility, and keep working. But also, this wasn't an issue for me, but don't judge yourself either. You know, you've been at this for 3 months, 3 years, whatever it is. You're not going to do everything in a Pema Chödrön book. You know, you're not going to read the Dalai Lama's words and Thich Nhat Hanh's words and think, oh, these are so perfect. You know, you read Sharon Salzberg and she talks about this endless loving kindness and compassion, and you're like, all right, I can do this. And then 5 minutes later, you know, you're flipping somebody off on the freeway. So give yourself some patience and some kindness. It's a long journey. So I hope that helps. What else? Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned these 3 Buddhist movies, and you mentioned, of course, Groundhog Day, and that cycle over and over again until you get it perfect.
Yeah.
And I've done some reading on that. Supposedly it's over 30,000 times, 100 years, that cycle that he's called it, allegedly, according to the movie writer. Isn't that in itself a pursuit of perfection, and therefore greed, and quite un-Buddhist? Because what if you just, hospitality fill didn't come, see ya.
Yeah.
Is that equally as valid?
Well, I understand the nature of your question, and as all questions are, they're very valid, so I don't want to say this one isn't. But it's not about being perfect, even though I might have said till you get it perfect, however I explained it. This practice is not about being perfect. This practice is about being kind. And so, whether the groundhog pops up or not, first of all, it's a movie, right? So the idea is that once he gets it right, and he starts being kind and stops being such a selfish you-know-what. See, now that I told that story, I feel bad cussing again. It'll probably wear off by Tuesday or Saturday, but it's not about being perfect. It's not about the groundhog showing up. It's about the recognition that everything in our practice is about kindness towards self and others. And in that regard, in all likelihood, we can never be perfect. I don't know about you, and I don't say that as a judgment.
Yeah.
I don't say that as a critique, right? It's the Suzuki Roshi quote you've heard me say all the time. You're all perfect exactly how you are, and you all could use a little improvement. Meaning, every day, every moment's an opportunity to think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. Every moment's an opportunity to be kinder and gentler to self and others. Every moment's an opportunity to be more generous and loving and forgiving and kind. So it's not about perfection. It's about the practice. So, I definitely see how when I say, until you get a perfect Groundhog Day, that could lead you to think that we're trying to be these like perfect, enlightened beings. The Buddha said that there are healthy cravings, right? Yes, craving and desire leads to suffering, but there are healthy cravings. The desire to suffer less, healthy craving. The desire to see others suffer less, healthy craving. So much social injustice in this world. To see that eradicated is a healthy craving. But to do it, to fight against racism, but to do it without hatred and anger, but with love and compassion. Can we do that? Can we truly love the people who oppress the same way we love everybody else? This is the teaching of Thich Nhat Hanh. This is the teaching of Martin Luther King, to my understanding. This is the practice. So that's when I say, and honestly, then if the groundhog shows up or not, who cares? Just be kind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the movie's about him being kind and not doing any harm everywhere rather than getting it right.
Correct.
So now I can be watching again.
Yes. Yes. And hopefully you'll get it right. We'll do one more before we close.
How did you get to the point where going to Asia was the actual thing to do? Like, where do you get, like, where does that come from? Where you're just like, I'm going to a monastery.
Yeah, so the question is, how do I get to the point? And I love it because it makes it sound like it was some long, drawn out, talk about your question about, how things happen, right? Like dependent origination. After 2 years at the temple, the master, Venerable Yuzhur, said, Jeff, do you want to move to our monastery in Taiwan? And I said, yes. It was a long, thought-out process. Yeah. And again, even for that, when I tell that story, I don't tell that as like some goal or some aspiration. That was an escape. That was what you wanted me to realize. It was easy there. No money, no keys, no wallet, no phone, no problem. Can you have a clear mind and not be angry and greedy and selfish with a wallet and money and keys and a phone? This isn't about I know this isn't the nature of your question, I'm just rambling, but this isn't about getting rid of the stuff and that makes you more Buddhist, or going to Asia makes you more Buddhist.
Well, really the question is, like, when does that pivot when you're just like out here solo, sitting on your mat at home, and the desire to like, maybe I need a master, right? Like making that.
Dude, you've been here like every day for the last 2 years. I think you're doing it.
I'm curious about.
I understand. So
because
the question is, are you going to leave your family?
I mean, they're leaving me. You know what I mean? I'm at that point now where.
The response was, they're leaving me.
Yeah.
I just want to fill everybody in.
Yeah.
So there is one of my favorite expressions is when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Right? As we share at the end here, I'm no teacher, I'm not the teacher, I will never be your teacher. But when the student is ready, a teacher will appear. And to expand on that a little more, based on your response, which is, hey, they're leaving me, which I hear you, is very valid. You may reach a point in your life where it makes sense and the opportunity presents itself, but not because you sat down and like strategically mapped out, how am I going to get to Asia? Conditions, causes and conditions, cause and effect will continue to happen. And as your life evolves and changes, as it does every moment, if the conditions present itself to you, then you'll know. But our greatest master is whom? Our what? Yeah. Our children. They teach us everything we need to know. And you don't have to go anywhere for that. And they would miss you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to close on that. We'll join palms. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to those who need it most. All right, before you all head out, a few quick announcements from our Dharma Bum host, Anna. Thanks, Anna.
Hello, everyone. I'm tonight's host, Anna. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it, then bring it back whenever you are done with it. Please straighten your seat or your cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay to close and latch the windows, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well and hope